Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamualaikum. I hope that you all are fine. Today the topic of our lecture is listening comprehension. Listening is also an important aspect in communication skills because it's obvious that we cannot communication if we cannot listen better, or if we don't know the strategies of listening, we cannot communicate with people. So it's very important to know about listening as well. Its meaning, listening comprehension meaning. Listening comprehension is more than just hearing what is said. Secondly, it is a process of perceiving, constructing meaning from and responding to spoken or non-verbal messages. Plus, listening is an active process. So, if we will talk about the listening comprehension, that means listening comprehension encompasses the multiple processes. It involves in understanding and making sense of spoken language. Plus, it includes, you can say, recognizing sleep sounds, understanding the meaning of individual words. Plus, it's the understanding the sentence in which they are presented. So, listening comprehension, you can say it's an important skill to develop. For instance, if you are reading something, if you will read it loud, it will enable you to understand that thing or that particular thing that you are reading, and it will help you to remember all these things. Like if you will read it loud, you will understand it and you will remember it later. And even you can retell it in your own words if you have listened it well. So listening comprehension begins at a very young age when we interact with people around us. It develops as we read more and as we engage in a conversation with others. So tone of voice pauses between words where the emphasis is placed in a sentence, and the rhymes and patterns of speech all have an impact on the meaning of the words being spoken and the message we are meant to convey. Then comes basic types of listening. Active listening understands all things, proper interaction, proper feedback. Then comes selective listening. We remember only selected portion, topic not to our liking. So if we will talk about active listening, you can say it requires the listener fully concentration, understanding, respond, and then remember what is being said. So active listening is a skill that can be acquired and developed with practice. However, active listening can be difficult to master. Therefore, it takes time and patience to develop. So if we will talk about more the active listening process, you can say active listening involves listening with all senses as well as giving full attention to the speaker. So it's very important that the active listener is also seen to be listening. Otherwise, the speaker may conclude that what they are talking about is uninteresting to the listener. So it's very important that the active listener is also seen. So interest can be conveyed to the speaker by using both verbal and non-verbal messages, such as you can say maintaining eye contact and nodding your head and smiling, or you can say agreeing by saying yes, or simply we have another term that we are listening to someone, that is we used to say and if we text each other, sometimes we do reply so that's also you can say uh, a sign that we are listening them and we are understanding them. Plus feedback, that is very important thing, I think, because by providing this feedback, that the person speaking will usually feel more at ease and therefore communicate more easily, openly and honestly. So remember this, that listening is not something that just happens. You can say hearing. Hearing is something different than listening. You can say listening is an active process in which a conscious decision is made to listen to and understand the message of speaker. So listeners should remain neutral and non-judgmental while listening. This means trying not to take sides or form opinions, especially early in the conversation. So active listening is also about patience, pauses, and short periods, you can say, of silence should be accepted. So listeners should not be tempted to jump in with questions or comments on anything every time there are a few seconds of silence. So active listening involves giving the other person time to explore their thoughts and feelings. They should therefore be given time for that. So while listening, you can give smile to speaker. So it's you can say a sign that you are listening his or her speech. Uh, it can be used to show that the listener is paying attention and what is being said, or as a way of agreeing or being happy about the message being received. So active listening is not just about hearing, it's an active process in which we are supposed to understand all the things. If we are not getting all the things, that means we are not an active listener. And we do proper interaction in this procedure and proper feedback. We have to give feedback about that particular speech or particular thing. If we will give feedback, that means we have listened it well and we understood all the things. And if we will talk more about the selective listening, you can say selective listening, or it's a phenomena in that occurs when we only see what we want to see or hear what we want to hear. It's a type of mental filtering, you can say, in which we tune out someone's opinion or ideas when they don't line up with ours. So in this process of selective listening, we remember only selected portions, you can say, the things which we like most, and we ignore other things. Then comes ignoring listening. Not listening to others at all leads to strained relation. So in ignoring listening, we don't listen others. Okay, then now we have to discuss the stages of listening process. First of all, it's hearing, focusing on message, interpreting, analyzing and evaluating, responding and remembering. So in this listening process, first of all, we hear the things, and we also have to focus on the message to understand what is being said. And then we also will interpret the things, and then we will analyze it and plus in listening we have to respond as well. For instance, if we will relate it to our class, first of all you have to listen the lecture, you have to focus on the message, and you will interpret the things, and you will analyze as well. Plus you have to respond in the class, you will respond in the class, just like you can say it's a feedback, so that your teacher may think that you understood all the things. If you will not give your feedback, so your teacher may think that you couldn't understand all the things, and after the lecture you have to remember all the things. So it's you can say a daily life example of stages of listening process. So in the first step, that is hearing, you can say it's a psychological process of registering sound waves as they hit the eardrums. And the second one, you can say it's a process of accurately identifying particular sounds as words. And if we will talk about the understanding stage, it's you can say it's a stage during which the listener determines the context and meaning of the words that are heard. So if we will talk about the remembering, it's a stage that occurs as the listener categorizes and retains the information he or she is gathering from the speaker. Its memory is an essential throughout, you can say, the listening process, and it lets the speaker put what she or he hears in the context of what he heard before. And if we will talk about the evaluating, in this stage we critically accesses all the information we receive from the speaker, and we also access the information we gathered from the speaker both qualitatively and quantitatively. So it allows the listener to form an opinion of what we heard, and it's an important for a listener in terms of how what the listener heard will affect her own ideas and decision actions, you can say. And in the responding stage, it's something you can say it's a stage in when the listener provides verbal and non-verbal reaction to what he hears. So the speaker looks for the responses from the listener to determine in his message is being understood or uh, considered. So when a listener responds verbally to what he heard, the speaker listener roles are reversed, you can say. Okay, then comes the fallacies about listening. Listening is not my problem. Listening and hearing are same. Smarter people are better listeners. Good readers are good listeners. Listening improves with age and experience. So these are the fallacies about listening process. When we think that listening is not our problem, and we also think that listening and hearing are same. As I told uh, earlier that listening and hearing is not same thing, it's something different. So simply having good hearing doesn't make one a good listener. In fact, many people who have perfectly good hearing are not good listeners. Having good hearing doesn't facilitate one's perception of sounds, but a good listener don't simply hear words. They have to focus on the meaning as well. And we communicate effectively with each other as we share meaning. So we need to understand the meaning of, or you can say the difference between hearing and listening. It can be stated this way that hearing is, you can say, the reception of sound. Listening, or while listening, is an active process. So, or you can say it's the attachment of meaning to the sound. So, hearing is a passive and listening is an active process. So, good readers are good listeners. If we will talk about this statement, it's often untrue, even though both reading and listening depend on the translation of words into meaning. Because of the shade function, there is obviously some kind of relationship between reading and reading and listening. So the problem is, many people mistakenly believe that all good readers are necessarily a good listener. So, plus, if we will talk about the intelligent people, obviously, intelligence plays a role in a person's capability to listen. But persons with a limited intelligence will be limited in their capacity, remember, to process the information contained in the message they receive. So, uh, conversely, those having high intelligence levels will process a greater processing capacity, yet the belief that the smarter people are better listeners is often, you can say, it's false statement. So if we will talk about the listening improves with age and experience. So certainly the capacity or ability to listen and attach appropriate meaning to message improves with the age and experience. So at least in the early years and at least to some point, but although listening ability increases, uh, listening performance generally declines at some point. So but this doesn't have to be the case. So this discrepancy between the listening and ability and listening performance is often due to our having learned bad listening habits. Okay, then comes the importance of listening comprehension. To avoid communication errors, it helps to learn something new. It is key to success. We display respect to others' viewpoint. It is directly proportional to learning. It empowers your own personality. So you can avoid the communication gap through listening comprehension. Plus, it will help us to learn something new. It's a key to success. Yes, it is key to success. And we can display a respect to our speaker, and it will empower our own personality. Okay, then comes barriers to effective listening. First of all, we will discuss physical barrier, noise, defective mechanical devices, uncomfortable environment. So, while listening, if you have to go through from a different kind of noise, you cannot listen better. For instance, if there is any uh, a defective mechanical device, you cannot listen better, and you cannot understand the things, and you will not get the proper message. And if the environment is uncomfortable, you cannot listen better. Then comes the psychological barrier, state of health, disability, wandering attention. So these are very important things. If you are not doing well, you cannot listen well. Plus the disability and wandering attention. If while listening your lecture, if you have another thing in your mind, you cannot listen and you cannot understand, obviously. Psychological barrier, being unsure of the speaker's ability, personal anxiety, attitude, impatience. These are the psychological barrier in listening process. Then comes why people don't listen. People are distracted and preoccupied a full 75% of the time. because we think about different stuff 70% of our time. That is the reason that we don't listen. Thus, we usually recall just 50% of what was said immediately after we talk. Then we just spend 45% of our time in listening. We remember just 20% of what we hear. So these are the purposes that why people don't listen. How to listen effectively. So how we can listen effectively? These are the steps. Stop talking while in if you are there to listen anything, to listen any lecture, you don't have to talk with each other. Be silent, emphasize. If you will ask question, you will understand well. So maintain eye contact. As I told in other lectures as well, that eye contact is very important thing. If you will maintain your eye contact, you will get the message. Practice listening, show interest, and listen creatively. Wait and watch for non-verbal communication. Listen for ideas, not just words, and put the speaker at ease. It was also a very important point. Always put the speaker at ease. So this was all about the lecture. Now you all are advised to listen and read the lecture, and you can ask the questions in our Zoom session. If you have any question, then you can ask it. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.